Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Horsemanship Remarks show. Kind of spooky here, right? With my setup a little wonky. Happy Halloween, everybody. So obviously that means that the weather is going to be changing as of tomorrow. Well, the weather's changing, but the days are now going to get short, and it is officially like legit pouring down rain here. I really want to get rid of this. Julie, good morning. Hey, Julie, will you help me set up a live for people at Horsemanship Insider? I need you to help me with that. I'm so sorry, you guys. This is moving. Katie, good morning. I don't know how to fix this. Let's add Michael, and then you guys can look at him while I'm sorting my deal out. Oh, he's not here yet. Emily, hi, good morning. Mike, Debbie, good morning. Katie, hello to Katie and the girls. Let's see. Okay, good. Well, let's see what I have on my mind this morning. So the Andalusian Jarl, who is at Debbie's for the winter, I have gotten a chance to play with, I have had a chance to play with him over the last couple of days, and that is just fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. So I thought we'd talk about that. And I know that Michael has a few things on his mind. I've also been thinking, so I got this funny comment on Instagram a few days ago, which I think is quite humorous and also a little bit interesting. So I want to hear what you guys think about this. Some of you probably saw it. So the comment was, it was on a reel of mine, like me riding Frosty. And the comment was, English rider in Western tack, period. Western riders do this very differently. And I just thought, I mean, it is an like, I wonder what they mean. They must mean because I have an English outfit on, or because here's the thing. I learned that exercise from Buck Brannaman. He seems pretty Western. I mean, right? But then you think, okay, well, so what are we talking about when we say English and Western? And it's a little bit of an exercise in futility, I realize, to talk about these sorts of things. But I would be very interested to hear what people think or what they mean when they say that, even if it's like a throwback to when they were kids, because you can't really, like, what are you going to say about it? Are we saying the saddles? Because in English and Western, we have very different saddles. Meaning there's many different Western style saddles, many different English style saddles. And, or do we mean the headgear, or do we mean the person's headgear, or the person's outfit, or how we ride our horses? Because again, within English, imagine like a hunter, jumper, like, the little hunters, they ride their horses one way in an English saddle. And then a dressage rider is going to ride their horse in a completely different way. And obviously, same for, you think about the difference between a cutter or a barrel racer or a bridle horseman or whatever. So it was just such a matter-of-fact statement. English rider in Western tack, period. So I was kind of curious what you guys have to say about that. Let's see if Michael's here this morning. Here he is. Let's add Michael and see what he has to say. But I'm also very interested in what he has on his mind, because I know that he's been spending a lot of time with the horses as well. Stacy, good morning. So tell me what's on your guys' mind. Also, I have my trusty little iPad here, so I'll get a chance to read your comments. It says it's adding Michael, but it's being a pain as usual, and I really want to get rid of the stars, but I'm going to wait until Michael gets here to do that. I might try it again, Michael. Let's see. Let me try again here. Add Michael. Do you see the invitation here? Michael Sperling? Yes.
Morning.
Good morning.
It's good to know I don't need to panic when it doesn't work because I only requested to join once. You had to add me twice, so next
Yep.
time I'll again. Good morning.
How are you this morning?
I'm good.
Good.
Great.
Wait till you guys see the buck reel I just did this morning. I've been saving this clip for since March for Halloween.
You're wearing a pumpkin hat?
No, no, but it's like, can I play it for you guys?
You get off and you like the cold way. So you're trying to saddle and you're hoping that you stay. Now your horse begins to bucking when you get it halfway on. Your arms and sleeves are tangled and he throws you and he's gone.
So I'm super excited for that.
That's pretty good.
I've had that holstered for a while. And I was like, and then of course, choosing the music is the worst because, you only have so much available to you to choose from. And when he's talking, you can't have any words. And so the one I did the other day, Michael, with the song that you had sent me that I love. I don't know. It's kind of funny the way I'm reading comments right now because it, I don't know, it's making me laugh. The silliness of it, which sometimes well, maybe now it's making me laugh, but I was a little bit cranky earlier this week. But someone's like, I love Buck Brannaman, but this is not a disco. I'm like, how old are you? I mean, the pigeonholing is extraordinary. And it's not like I do those all the time, but that was like the most fun I've had editing till today. But I've been waiting, like I said, all year for this one today.
That's funny.
Can't even put any Halloween emojis, or anything. It's like Buck's like, just tell him that was Ray's favorite poem. I'm like, okay, fine.
Throw a little pumpkin at the end. He won't read to the end. He'll know.
Someone will tattle though, Here, let's see. I really want these stars. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. To go away. All right. Well, what's on your mind? You heard my comment about the other comment regarding my deal. Isn't that a funny statement? Anyway, but let's not veer off into that because it's not especially important.
Well,
Other
it's not
than,
important, but I mean, it's pervasive.
but what I mean, the problem, the reason it's stuck in my mind is the cognitive dissonance of like, it's like gaslighting kind of. It's like I'm trying to make sense of the statement, and it just sticks because yes, I come from a dressage background, but honestly, I've been riding with Buck for as long as like for 13 years, right? So before that, I being generous, I had 13 years of, so it's like,
Yeah.
so what does that mean? What do you think about all that?
Um. Well, like I say, it's pervasive. I think the majority of the horse world simply thinks in terms of black and white English Western, so they don't know what to do with someone who's quote unquote cross dressing. Um, and, if you asked any of them, I don't think, not any of them, I think a lot of people don't consider what they mean when they say that. And quite a few, I'm sure, would. But just as many or more would go, huh, I don't know. If you asked them, what do you mean by that? Or they'd have just a quick answer, one of which you already listed, or one of those that you already listed. Um, you know, I think the saddle is the big one. Or one I get a lot is riding on contact versus not contact. So if you're on a loose rein, it's Western. If you're in contact, it's English, which I think is probably the
Most,
I I feel is the most common way that people differentiate the two
and it
because
is,
one person can ride both, like they show both in 4-H, or they have their English horse and their Western horse, and they wear different clothes for each, but the difference to them is in the way it feels in their hands, or the shortness of the reins, right? Um, but yeah, I mean, there's plenty.
One second, Michael. Just 1 second.
Okay.
1 second. You guys, can you hear us okay? Because Julie had just mentioned that when it struggles to add you, it does sound wonky, which I did hear last week, but only for a little bit. So can you please give me the thumbs up so I can see it right here if you can hear us? All right.
Yeah, you
Please.
got monkey when you tried to add me and it didn't work to me.
But now it's good, right?
Yeah, now it's good.
Okay, you guys, thumbs up. Hello? No? Is that bad? Nobody's giving us the thumbs up. You guys have to tell us what the story is because I do not know,
We
honestly.
should learn sign language for "Can you hear us?"
Yeah, okay, hold on. Let's see. Yeah, it's good. Okay, the audio self-corrects. Okay, good. Perfect. All right, continue. Yes, I would agree. And the thing, here's all the thumbs up. Thank you.
And then you have, I think, more so English riders, right? Those that ride uh, in English disciplines talk more about cross training. They'll do obstacles as cross training, or get around cows as cross training, or trail ride for cross training. Um, so what makes that not Western? And I think that's mostly how they handle their horse during it, I guess, would be. But even then, it's like, well, you're doing an obstacle. Are you? I don't know. Anyone who shows up here, I'm like encouraging them to get to a loose rein and not just stay in frame or in contact or hold them in or whatever. However, I might describe what I see them doing, or however they self-describe what they're doing. And no one's like, well, no, I'm riding Western. Some people I'll actually say, because they're clearly thinking this is different than what I do, and they're considering this Western and that English, and like you can just tell the way they're describing it. I'll say, okay, so if that's the framework within which you're thinking, when I'm saying loose rein, you're considering that Western, correct? And then you've ridden English, right? So then I'll say, okay, then working within that, let's ride both Western and English. We need some riding on a loose rein. We need to be directing legs only, minimal kind of confines with the rein to be sure they can do that. And then let's go back to operating in a soft feel, what you think of, or you're a little bit more familiar with, that you think of as the way you ride. But if you're here to like stick with me and kind of sort out what I'm doing and how it might help you, it's going to probably feel a little different than what you've thought of. And those that are quite sophisticated and experienced, maybe professional, and ride dressage, or you know more some eventers that I've worked with, they get the difference. They appreciate what I'm doing, and they're not like, well, this is different. They know they can shape the horse into the feel that they are going to be going for, which is a little different in their hands, but they can appreciate what the foundation of having them soften does for them. You so those are my thoughts.
Yeah. I
Just
mean,
the
yeah,
different
I
folks.
think that's the most satisfactory, honestly, that's probably the most logical.
That's just what I've encountered.
Eh,
Experience to very um, amateur, or not, not having shown or just having taken lessons as a kid, or being exposed to only one style of riding. That's the categories within which people operate.
It's just, here's my only thing that my brain goes to right away is just every dressage rider, every coach I've ridden with, which is, it's not that many, you know, um, maybe five or something through my whole life that I've subjected myself to their coaching. However, I have watched a lot of other people's clinics and coaching, and they all want you to ride around on a loose rein on the buckle. Like, think
Mm-hmm.
about Walter Zettel wanted you to canter around like on a like kind of like hand gallopy on a long rein, and every like so I let there. Too bad I don't know I can't remember his name, but there's a hundred not a hundred jump a show jumping dude who's creating content on Instagram that I generally agree with most of his stuff. But this first thing is on a loose rein, the horse needs to go inside leg, outside hand, and be able to turn off of it. And so I'm just saying that doesn't even jive either. And the fact that then you have Buck Brannaman, let's just take him as an example because he's been out in the world teaching for 40 something years, not even counting Ray before that, but let's just only take Buck. Clearly a Western rider. Can you get more Western than a what?
If he's clearly a Western rider, what makes him Western?
Well, this is what I'm saying because obviously he's riding around with contact on the rein, you know.
What makes him clearly Western? Some might
But
say, hey,
he's
riding
from Wyoming. I mean, he works cattle. He dresses the part. He wears the proper outfit. Like, I don't know in what world you would define someone else as more Western than Buck. But I guess, I mean, are we really going to define a
but
reiner?
now you defined that where
You
he's from.
could. I mean, you
Find it
could,
where
but
he's
doesn't that?
from, the tack he's using, and the outfit he's
Well,
wearing.
I'm just.
He's around cows. So, like, if you didn't know Buck Brenneman, but that was your definition of a Western rider, just Joe, who you saw on a reel, well, he's a Western rider because he's from Wyoming, he wears this outfit, and he's working cows. Is that the definition of a Western rider?
I don't know.
That Western rider is also in an English saddle, but they have the rest of their garb is, I don't know. I mean, I agree with you 100% that, Bucks is West,
It's
they
such a
come.
weird
Your
loop.
definition of it defined it not by the way he operated his
Well,
horse.
because we have to deviate from that, right? All I'm the reason I was saying that is just because I'm thinking of like a reiner on
Yeah,
a super long rein. You know, is the deal. I mean, are we going to consider that picture to be more Western than Buck Brannaman riding around on his bridle horse?
bridle
And
up.
I mean, you can. That's fine. It's just that would not be what I would think that someone in a show pen on a show horse on a long
To me, I think, okay. I think
face
most
says it's
people,
cowboy hat,
I think
except for the problem with the cowboy hat is Buck has worn all sorts of different hats throughout the years, including a flat hat. Oh, I don't know.
okay, so I think, as I said, a lot of it comes down to people being asked to do something different in how they handle the horse through the reins, through their legs, and say, well, that's not how I do it. I'm an English rider, or this is my goal. Why are we doing it so much on a loose rein? Well, because your horse only can do it when managed or whatever. Your horse is too green to be, gathered up in that manner for that long. Let's work into that. Okay. So I think that is one framework. But then from there, I say, let's consider stylistically how you want your horse to operate in the end, and what you want, how you want their body to be shaped and how you'd like them to move, and focus more on that rather than how long the reins are or what we call it in this broad distinction, English Western. Just describe the horse, describe how you want them to operate on the reins. And then you can say, well, that's typically how an English rider, I mean, the going into the contact versus a soft feel, I don't know, you can maybe say that is a distinction. I don't know too many folks in a Western discipline, which there I think you can say that and be pretty clear, in a Western discipline that are asking the horses to go into the contact. And I don't know too many, well, there are certainly English riders who don't want them going into the contact, or they have very different expectations of what that's going to feel like. But I think on the whole, most people, when they say English riding, are looking for more contact in their hands, not just a shorter rein. Like that's how I characterize it sometimes when I'm talking to someone who's clearly just thinking English Western and it was mostly how they're picking up the reins, less outfit, because I'm not telling them to put on a Western hat and change their gear before they can ride with me. It's just I'm saying, hey, let's operate our horse maybe a little differently. But that I think is a fair enough distinction that when picking up a soft feel, asking your horse to reshape themselves by shortening the rein, they're wanting the horse to respond to the rein differently as they reshape themselves than Buck would be, I would be, you would be, many who you could say are Western in that they ride in Western disciplines.
That's,
So,
I mean, the disciplines is a good one.
but then that's tricky when you don't ride and show.
Well, that's where, it just, if you're trying to talk about me personally, like if a person were trying to, good luck. I mean, I don't know.
Exactly, but that's where the comment started. You're
Right.
a confusing individual.
Well,
You don't
just say
don't
she's
fit,
a misfit. Then
you don't
just say
you don't fit a category if we're trying to categorize based on how long the reins are or what the tack is or
what your purpose is too. You could say it like that too.
course, you know, system of training.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where it gets mushy because I think there, depending on the quality of the trainer, I think a lot of folks that ride in English disciplines do have a lot more room for their horse in the development process. Even if it doesn't appear they have as much room, there's a lot of space in there for the horse to move longer. You're developing. Yeah. And then as the end result, they also ought to be able to operate a release rein. But there's certainly plenty of English riders or Western riders that can't operate their horses on a loose rein. So at least not with any,
Yeah, like what would
best control and the horse feeling back to you. I mean, if you got to hold them in, are you English or Western?
yeah. I just think of it as you're right about the way you're thinking about it is definitely the most makes the most sense. It must be your Harvard education coming through. Definitely making the most sense for sure, because my brain just scatters to like, especially since we have access. There's so much video being produced with people that have so many different ideas and are doing so many different things with their horses. It, I like, so what if a person doesn't have a bridle on at all, and it is doing collection, which we see tons of people, gajillions. It used to be one or two people that you could see. Now it's like bazillions of girls are bareback. So they don't have a saddle on, but they do have the English outfit and the hat and the warm blood. So you could be like, but no bridle, no saddle, like, and they're doing a dressage test. So then you're like,
So then you could say
but that's not contact. I mean,
the rule book of a certain discipline, we could go back to that. Are you riding dressage? Are your aims?
mm-hmm.
But I don't know if rule book is a light feel on the contact. Is the contact in your hands? Then if you're riding bridleless, it must not be dressage. But I mean, if you're going to the rule book and that's in the rule book, which it is, But then you also have in the rule book is to develop a happy athlete, and we got plenty of dressage horses that aren't happy athletes. So are they doing dressage? I mean, it's just.
It was interesting. I listened to a podcast with Anna Buffini and Andrea Papani. I think that's how you say it. So sounds super interesting because those two are at the top of their game. Well, I wouldn't say Anna's at the top of her game just because she's so young and has so far to go, but she's achieved a lot in her young age. So my real estate coach. I've told you about Anna Buffini. Yeah. So you guys look her up. She's an international rider, but she's also the daughter of the guy that I have patterned my real estate business over and been a part of his coaching program since Anna was like 6. Now she's 28 or whatever, and super duper accomplished. And anyway, listening to the two of them talk was fascinating. But one of the ways that she just, kind of off the cuff described how they want their horses to move, because they were kind of comparing notes, in business and also just in what the discipline goals are, right? And she just, the two words she used were noteworthy to me. She just said, we want our horses to move. The goal is to move so fancy and huge. And I really had not heard that word emphasized. It just probably means I'm out of the loop, but I mean, duh, the word is correct for sure. But to have that be the definition, because
Sounds more manly than poofy.
yeah. Yeah, and also huge. I mean, I don't know that is how I would have defined it. Although that she is right. That's what the international trend is for sure. But if you think back to, 20 or 30 years ago, if you watch some of the Olympic tapes, I don't know that huge would be necessarily, like, one would say precise, graceful, relaxed, athletic, but I don't know that the definition would be fancy and huge.
Mm-hmm.
Huge, very timely for where we are this week. Huge, but like, you know what I'm saying? So I think I was like, oh, fancy and huge. Especially if you, once again, these little cross references, because you think of like Nuno Oliveira or some of these the European riders, not German, but would they ride in bigger spaces, but little tiny rings, where it was like 60 by 40, completely enclosed, so you could ride in all weather, and I would not consider, if you look up old videos of Nuno Oliveira, this is huge is not a part of.
Well, I was just going to say, the trend is certainly, and the goal right now is that, and it kind of requires a huge horse. Like, good luck looking huge on Vivian Mowgli, like any of your little ones.
Although,
It you could like put you in a ring where the fences are shorter and all the buildings are shorter and all the people are your height, well, maybe they could look huge, but you know,
I
if the goal is huge, you need a big horse.
Yeah, although you could also say that the dimensions of the rectangle in relationship to the horse are as huge as you can get the rectangle, even if you're on novella.
Good luck getting the judge to
Well, the judge
buy
is not,
that definition, but
they wouldn't even consider
yes.
any of the ponies dressage horses. Like but it depends on who you talk to. Also, it really depends on who you talk to, because some of the top riders, well, maybe not the top international riders, I don't know, it would be very curious, because I feel like it's changed a lot in the last 10 years.
It's funny to me to even have this conversation because my frames of reference are so small related to this, but I have enough awareness of it that I can at least follow and sort of have the conversation. But from the reference point of someone who is in the loop, like, who are you to be even saying a word about this?
Well, and the big thing that the dressage is so, side note, I mean, I do consider myself as dressage rider, as, but then you scatter once again into, like, I don't know what the definition is right now, but the part that we care about, you and I for sure, are the gymnastics and the physical development of a horse that is strong and powerful and can be huge, I suppose, huge and tiny.
And the mindset is probably what sets it apart all the more.
Yeah. Once again, you may or may not see that. Mm-hmm. Those dressage horses can perform in the most dramatic environments, though, the top level ones. Like, a stadium of 20,000 people, and the lights and the music and, like, all the stuff. It's pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I don't know. Here, we have a couple comments, and Faith's so funny. She said, could it not be Western or English, but well-rounded in thought, feel, etc., versus shut down and controlled? Yeah. So Faith, what would be well-rounded in thought, feel, and shut down and controlled? Like, meaning, would those be one?
No. I would say those are different, right?
Sure.
By the way, Faith, thank you for your text. I didn't respond, but
Okay.
she was just commenting how well her horse is doing and sent a thank you, to which I should have replied, that's great, thank you.
Oh, that's cool. Very cool.
My last month has been insane.
Yeah, I want to hear more about it. So let's just get to the rest of these. Corey says, I totally just learned it as related to the gear based on a horse show class. Hunt seat, saddle seat, dressage are English. Western equals Western. You guys are deep into the weeds. She's she's laughing. Anyone more worried about the gear when making comments is just missing the point, right? Yes, of course. Yes, definitely missing what we care about, for sure. By the way, again, related to the current time we're in, it's not the weeds. We do the weave. Have you heard about that?
No.
I'll tell you about it later. Some of you guys will know. I was laughing so hard. Somebody that is very prominent right now in these the last little while, coming up on our big decision as a country, like, it's like the weave is a story that goes, like, all around, and you have to have this big long conversation to get to the points. And I was like, oh, we do the weave. It's not ending up in the weeds. We're doing the weave. Ha! Pretty funny.
I like Faith's comment there. It's not so much the tack you wear as the way you operate your horse. I mean, I don't have it in front of me. You'd have to read it again, but I think that's I think that's kind of what she got at.
Yeah, except for I wouldn't say all Western horses are shut down and controlled.
I know. No, she's not saying English versus Western there.
Okay.
That's a distinction that's valuable, or that you can, you can have both English
Oh.
horses in that place shut down and controlled, and you can have both English and Western
Mm-hmm.
horses riding disciplines, or people riding in those costumes, or whatever, that are free and loose and happy. And I don't know, I don't remember all the words she just said, but I think that's a distinction that's valuable to me, and I would say likely for you in talking to people. It's like, well, let's ignore what you're dressed like. Let's ignore how long the reins are. Let's ignore this. This is what I value. This is what I often see. What what do you value? And I think at least most of the people that show up at my clinics are like looking for something more like the willing cooperation and partnership, and the horse feeling peaceful about what they're doing. So they are prioritizing that, or looking to prioritize that, even if they don't know quite how to
Mm-hmm.
get. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll read it again just for the audio. So she said, could it be not Western versus English, but well-rounded in thought, feel, etc., versus shut down and controlled? Yes. I think, and Michael's explanation of that was helpful to jump subjects. One thing Anna did say like 10 times in that 1 hour was feel, which I think thought was very interesting. In a good way, I think. So Tammy says, I'm always stumped when someone asks me if I ride English or Western. My answer is I ride in an English saddle.
it's kind of skirting the question, because probably it's a conversation that they're not looking for. Yeah, it'd be good. It would be interesting, Tammy, to be like, well, how do you define it? And then you could get in the weeds with them too.
I am always stumped. That's pretty much what I say though. I say, I mostly have ridden in my Wade saddle. But see, you have to say Wade saddle versus like a cutting saddle, or are we gonna get down to like, do we have bell stirrups, or am I riding in a
Well,
in like some sort of comfy tech, trail
to me,
saddle?
the bridle, I don't know. I guess if I had to define, it's the feel in the hands.
Yeah, that's the best one I've heard so far.
Because, I'm gonna throw an English saddle or hop on someone's horse to say, hey, can I feel something there? Or can I help your horse understand something, or whatever? And they're, in a dressage bridle, and I'm on the buckle, and they got an English saddle on, and I'm going, okay, I haven't ridden an English saddle in a while. Find my seat. Like, I can do this, but at first it's like, whoa, I'm kind of swimming a little here, but I ride the horse the same.
Of
So yeah,
course. It's like
so
that's why
not the
you just
saddle,
get.
not the bridle. It's how I'm operating the reins, and that's where I think, yeah. Anyway, that's why I think Faith's comment was pretty helpful. It's like what I'm looking for more so than, and that's we're back to, how do you define English or Western? If you're defining it as, well, I ride an English discipline, I want my horse to move in such and such a way because we're going to go over fences that are 5 feet high at a gallop, and on potentially slightly slick ground, or whatever the conditions are out when you're eventing or fox
That is an
hunting.
easy one to define. That is not an English rider. That is not a Western rider. That is an insane rider. Clinically out to fucking lunch. I'm just kidding, you guys. I respect you so much, but I truly think you're nuts. It is so dangerous. Oh my gosh. Who gallops a horse, Michael, to a solid object that is almost 6 feet high? On
Steeple
Slick ground.
Steeplechase is the one that just blows my mind.
It's so amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway. Yes. Agree.
But I mean, they could say that same, and you haven't done this, but tying off to a cow, like, are you freaking insane?
Yeah, totally. Or ropes everywhere. You're right. That's a good point because that is very dangerous, especially depending on who you're around
Yeah,
and who can save the day.
go to I was in Costa Rica and we went to a rodeo, and that was pretty wild. You have just hundreds of people in the pen, more or less. Yeah, it was wild. I don't even remember what the goal was, but it was crazy. And then with a bull, right? And then they're like, the bottom of the stands has like a 2 foot gap to where, like, if he's coming at you, you like hit the edge and barrel roll underneath the stands so he can't get you. And then they have the riders come out with uh, they're called soga. That's the Spanish word for rope, and they're just really big and thick ropes, but they'll rope this bull and on little horses, and it's just insane how much strength they have. But there's still people running around the arena, and they got ropes on this bull. It's just nuts. Or you go to a Mexican rodeo or whatever, and they've got 4 ropes on hind legs because they need to get 2 legs for a count. Steer or whatever is running around with dragging ropes, and you're still riding your horse up behind it. And I think they're insane too. I would participate in that particular exercise. Even 20 plus years younger, I would not have found myself out in the ring with those Costa Rica.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So Julie O says it confounds me that a small horse doing dressage moves with quote unquote moves with precision, balance, rhythm, and calm is not revered. It seems like a gross misunderstanding of what classical dressage really is. Yeah. So Julie, that was a little bit it just caught my ear. I really respect Anna and all the things that she is accomplishing and how her horses go, and she definitely has a few of the top horses in the world for sure, and very, very thoughtful, very kind person, and whatever right she is, she's like 30th in the nation or something. I don't actually know what she is right now, but anyway, a top dressage rider, a top rider in that sport, and that is how she's defining it. So when we say classical, do we mean like classic Coke, the kind that had from a zillion years ago? Yeah, Phil. So I don't know, because we have to say, okay, well, these are the ones that are doing dressage today, or moving the sport forward. So do they get to, I mean, we have to at least say, well, to some degree they get to define what it means. And I would guess, whatever, I would guess that these people would just love to watch a little pony going around as huge and big as she can go, and they'd be like, that's awesome. But is she going to be competitive internationally, aka at the top of the definition of the sport? Of course not. Which is fine with me. I don't mind. Also, Michael, I don't think I mentioned this, but it's really interesting to hear these very top riders talk, meaning top in their sport, in the showing, and to a person that I've listened to, which is honestly not very many, I suppose, in the grand scheme of things, but they all say what they love the most is being at home and training a horse that isn't easy to train, and solving those problems and developing those relationships. And this, of course, is after they've won a bunch of things. They're like, well, what I really would like to do is stay home and develop my own horses, without having to worry about it. So Tammy says, I think most people define a style by tack and attire. A deeper conversation can be a waste of time. True, Tammy, but I guess what I'm getting at is you can't even do it that way. That was the thing, is it because there's just so much variation in between it all.
Yeah, but I think what Tammy's saying is that's the frame of reference. Like I described it more the feel in the hands, but also the tack and attire.
Yeah.
I think that's the frame of reference people are coming at that question with. So, just go with what you presume their frame of reference to be and just leave it at that, unless you're
Yeah. Yeah.
have a deeper, more
The,
conversation.
the other thing that I would say, actually, after thinking about it during this conversation, is probably, if I were to choose, I would say the style of the gaits. Because thinking back, I did grow up horse showing at local horse shows and in 4-H, and we did have, we did ride English in the morning. We did showmanship and trail in the morning, English before lunch, Western after class, and or after lunch. And so, but the style of the gaits were different, right? If you were going around in the morning in your hunter saddle, um,
Well,
then it was the gaits were one style, right? And then in the afternoon, you would jog and lope your horse, and that would be a different style. And actually, they didn't mix in my area. They did not mix dressage, saddle seat, and hunt seat all together in English, because the way that the horses were expected to go were very different in each one of those.
yeah. And I think it depends on your area, maybe to a degree, but the experience of those involved and the knowledge of those involved as to how much the gates are stylized and different, or how much I'm just riding this class and that class and I change my outfit and that's about it, because I don't even know about stylizing the gates, or that's not something I can do, and I only have this horse and this horse moves really only one way, and I'm not even aware that it can move multiple ways. So there again, you're faced with how much experience does someone have will kind of influence what they mean by English or West, or whatever comments they make are going to be reflected, or a reflection of the way they understand, the depth of their understanding.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All true. All true. I find myself, just as a side note, it is very strange to be in a place where I feel um I feel gratitude and loyalty to because people have shared their traditions with me. Um and yet, even if I wanted to, I couldn't fit in one in one place. You know, I have to say, Gary Bailey is so pure in his not caring about what outfit and what gear. It, like, it's so cool, because that just doesn't, I really think he doesn't see that first. And he'll zoom in closer, to look at saddles, like, the deal. He loves saddles and all that kind of, but he's interested in all of them. So anyway, I don't know. It's for me personally, it's a very strange place to be now, basically at equal distance from where I started, not including the little kid stuff, but as an adult, basically kind of right in the middle. And just like, I have as much dressage behind me as I do this Tom and whatever we want to call it, from here. That's, I don't know. I don't know what I'm expected to do. I don't know what I should do. Other than every time we get with our horses, it's clear for me, right? When I'm with you guys, or when I'm with my own horses, like it's very clear what I want. And then when I become aware that other people are trying to understand me, like me, not on an individual level with those of you guys that are on the same track, but then you feel very strange because you're like, oh yeah, I do have no place except for with my people. I guess that's always the case. Anyway, Tammy, you're off to the barn. Good. Corey says, I'm not saying my definition is complete or accurate, but I assume when people ask, do you ride English or Western, they're referring to gear in general. Yeah. All right.
Okay. Shall we move
So,
on
yes.
to musical choices and appropriateness given your discipline?
Oh my God. It's the worst. It's the worst.
Go there, but it would be a fun journey through the weeds.
But it's hilarious, right? And like I was saying to Buck, I'm like, what's extra annoying is people don't go to clinics, I guess, because then they're like, then they're pigeonholing him just as happily as they are pigeonholing me. It's like, I mean, it's not all Western.
Music.
I mean, and Michael, that was the case since we met him. So I don't have any framework around Buck Brannaman that
He
is.
how many years ago did he have a horse named Oprah? That I thought was hilarious when I first, because he was a fan of Oprah. I don't know if he still is, but
I don't know either.
That's not it doesn't fall in my picture of a Western individual from Wyoming wearing the outfit, being around cows and watching Oprah.
Yeah, I guess, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I think everybody's kind of into pop culture, I suppose, to some degree, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but the music makes me insane because it's not that easy. Everyone thinks like it should be so easy for me to choose the music, but it's really way harder than people think just because I can't just I have to pick something without words if he's talking. And then there's only so many choices. And but it's just and then of course the dressage riders do have it down because on their super fancy huge horses they are using the best music for sure. Well, we can't get that it wouldn't even suit really because the horses aren't going in that super dramatic way, but anyway, I don't think it's just because I am not that genre, but I could be wrong. Anyway, Michael is the one that sent me that song that I used on the last Buck Grill that I love so much. And then Kip was like, it makes it seem like he goes, I don't know if those are the lyrics. I'm like, yeah, he's talking to the cow. Anything you can do, I can do better. Right? Anyway, what are your thoughts on that?
Lydia's listening to Imagine Dragons.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
They have some good.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how much but once again, if there's something without lyrics a lot of times.
Like the opening Believer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I feel like there's a bit of music of instrumental there before the
Mm-hmm,
lyrics
mm-hmm.
start.
Yeah. If I had something super short. Oh, yeah. And Coldplay. I listened to, what's his name? Singing a cappella. And I'm like, geez, some of these people are so talented. It's just crazy. What was the most recent song that you sent? I don't know. But point being, back to music, it's like the there's definitely a balance between tradition, which is valuable. And as much as people think I don't respect it, I do.
And pop culture.
Exactly. And this some sort of forward momentum, right? Joanne says, I love hearing that you started your horse journey in 4-H. Oh, yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Borrowed a pony. Little cart pony bucked me off all the time. Started riding in the local park. The ladies, nice ladies, they must have been in their 20s. I've told this story before, as a little kid. So I was 12, and these ladies saw me showing up because they would obviously haul their horses because they didn't have arenas. So they would haul their horse to the local park, to the outdoor arena, and they saw this little girl riding around bareback on this pony all the time. And they're like, hey, do you need help? So they're the ones who lent me saddles, horses, gear. It really was a group of ladies, and I don't even think they all knew each other. It's pretty cool. That's how I met Lisa Overhule. Was in 4-H. We were in 4-H together. Julie says, I've decided that I ride indie singer songwriter style.
Indie singer songwriting stuff.
That's probably true, I guess, huh? Let's just start saying that. I'm an indie rider. Totally. And then we could come up with matching. Like if you ride bridleless a lot, if that's your goal, then maybe you could be a grunge rider. Bring back the 90s. Yeah.
There are more style, like niche, and labeled, like, if you say indie, there are so many different types of indie. There, say electronic, there's so many different. It's just wild. And when you're talking to someone who's into electronica, it's like, well, which I don't even know if that's the term used.
Who knows?
Like there's this style and that style. And I'm like, well, play me a couple songs, and yeah, there is a difference. I wouldn't have. I didn't know that there was a different name.
You know way more of those
I don't know.
than me.
I just listen to whatever suits my fancy, but I don't know that I know.
I've heard you say certain genres though that I was like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. But yeah, you have the same kind of eclectic taste as I do. What's the one that there's a song that I love so much that I was gonna give to Buck, but I'm keeping it for me. He doesn't appreciate it enough. I can't remember what it is. Nights Like These. I'm like, you're not getting that one, even though he has a bigger audience.
Whose Nights Like These?
Oh, and I never know the artist, which is really rude.
Now that we're talking about this, I'm gonna be like, I haven't been thinking in terms of sending music that would be useful for reels.
Yeah,
more.
It would be nice if you would, because
I think you would too, is what I've been sending you. But I'll definitely be throwing you stuff that is
this one. See, I could use that hook. Not that one. Oh my god.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. So here's the hook. But Buck's not getting it. Forget it. You guys. Michael's getting his thing to play. Michael is the king, you guys, of having good music. He really is. And but once again, I need stuff without lyrics if Buck is going to be talking. So there's that. And I can only use so much. Whoa. I only need so much cinema. Stevie Nicks has a new song? Wow. Cool. I also thought it would be kind of fun to bring back Bon Jovi. Anyway, while Michael's looking for music, let me tell you guys about Jarl just a little bit. Just a cute moment. So Jarl's the Andalusian that was a Mexican dancing horse. You guys have heard me talk about him before. And now that I'm kind of slotting into a groove working with him, it's kind of fun to chronicle the process. And like I mentioned on Instagram the other day, it's like I love waking up and not knowing where I am. Like if I'm traveling a lot and I wake up in the morning or in the middle of the night and I don't know where I am, I personally love that feeling. I know not everybody does, but I do. So it's a little bit the same when I am working with a horse like this, where you don't know to the next moment you could hit a brick wall. Now, I really don't want to run into a dangerous wall, which can happen when you have a mystery horse, um, legit. But but you could also run into a wall where it's like, wow, this horse is so damaged. Like, I don't know if I'm going to spend the time to fix this or want to or whatever. Or, and like with Jarl, this just keeps happening over the Vivian. She's another example where it's just like you come around a corner, and like I said, you could end up with a wall in front of your face, like dead end, written in blood or something. Or you could come around the corner and open the door and be like going through the closet at Narnia,
Mm.
right? Kind of a mystery situation. I quite like it. So I was doing this now we're in this place with Jarl where he's a little bit realizing that what I have to say is beneficial. So we went through this phase of like just self-preservation, and then, oh, I really like you and I'm going to give you latitude because I'm amazing and resilient and whatever, the horse, amazing and resilient and willing to totally accept me as a new person. That's just fascinating to me. And so then, but then it was like he's so used to just contorting his body just because the person wants it, you know? And so we're right at this edge that the things I'm showing him are beneficial. For instance, isolating the hindquarters from the forequarters. Now he can whip those hindquarters around, but they're still not isolated. You're still, it is now. But at the beginning, it was just like whirling around like a top. It's like you're still just operating in a blob, like one big long 2x4 kind of, you know, that's not even the right way to say it, but like a pool noodle because it didn't have a lot of structure, but it's still just this blob. Well, so then to show him, like, look, we're going to operate your hindquarters and then your forequarters, and that being like so much easier. And now starting to separate, look, and now look at all 4 feet. Look. And I'm not going to ask you to operate them in a way that is just a hot mess. It's going to suit you. Okay, so we're just barely at that place. And the next thing after that is going to be him starting to cotton on to the fact that now there's a bunch of things that are going to fit together. But we're not there yet. Like, we're definitely, he's perked up a bit, like, at first, right? You follow me. At first, it was just like, okay, you like me, you're gonna be nice to me. I'm okay. Like, we have a relationship, and then I'm just gonna do whatever as best I can, do what you want, just because I like you. But we're at this place where he's like, huh, now I'm interested in what you actually have to say for its own sake, for its own sake, not because you're talking and I'm politely listening, right? And then it's going to be, the next thing is going to be like, the difference between learning words, obviously, and then learning to read a novel. And then you're really dialed in, right? So I had this cool moment where it was hindquarters. I was really showing him the forequarter component because he would just sort of lunge forward or wing it around, and it just wasn't all organized and turned loose, right? So his hindquarters to the left, forequarters to the left, and I'm on his right side at that point. And he had the inside sliding leg, so we had the left hind leg kind of going, and then the left front leg kind of reaching. I'm doing it backwards, sorry. Left front leg kind of reaching. And then he had the right front leg, starting to come across. And then, of course, we wanted the bend to stay that way, which is not his natural deal because he wants to kind of look, the bullfighting thing. So he comes around to the left and kind of pauses there because he's sort of hooked onto me, right? So he pauses there and then he looks back to me like, that's so cool because he looks you right in the eye. Anyway, that's my Jarl thing. Continue with the music. Go for it.
Oh, I didn't find anything. I would have
Okay.
to whip out my computer, and then I'm not going to drag my computer up here.
Oh, sad.
So,
Okay.
don't have one, don't want one.
What was that?
Don't have one, don't want one, don't need one.
Okay, fine. So what else, you guys?
Watch or a clock in here though, so I can keep track of time. But
Yeah, we're good for 20 minutes. So you talk. You talk about your horse thing because that was my major horse thing. Other than I have a few things that I'm curious about the flying changes that I want to get back to. We'll see if I can. What I'd really like to do, if possible, if Maggie can come back to to full strength enough. She came back from summer pasture super skinny, like scary skinny. Which she was looking amazing, but I just left her out there too long as the weather turned. But if I can get her back, because she came in sound, my big black warm blood, you guys, and her flying changes are really, they're very straight, right? Her changes are very straight. She's not the fanciest moving horse in the sense like lots of roundness in the way that she moves, but she's quite organized. And so her changes are very straight, meaning her whole body, she doesn't wiggle that much, and she definitely understands them. And I have a few things that I kind of want to feel around for. So I've been refeeding her pretty intensely, and I'm kind of curious. So that could be something that we'll end up getting to talk more about. You see his silence, then I start filling in the gaps because nobody wants to hear the silence. But I'm waiting for him to start talking, and then I will be quiet.
sure,
Are
you're
you
done.
riding Rooster? What's going on?
It's annoying.
Did you watch Frosty Long Walk, Slow Walk?
Hmm.
Do you have any
That's
comment? What a good buddy. He would have been fun to see what he could have done. I hope that Monica will continue to send me a video.
So Katie and Wendy and Morgan were here. Julie, Eva. Funny, though not so funny story. So last time Katie and the girls were here, they left and hit a deer with not very far away and had to limp their truck back, take it into the shop. Katie's husband came down and with another truck and picked them up and went home. And so the truck was here for like a long time. So this time they leave, no joke, a little further than they were last time. The turbo blew on their truck, or just like a hose or a tube, just popped, burst. They weren't even back to Minnesota, and we're like right on the line, the state line. So they limped back here 10 miles an hour. Took them like probably an hour or more to get back to our place, and they were not that far away. And so they were here for an extra day. That was just a little addendum to the story, or a precursor to the story, because it's wild that they twice in a row got jammed up here.
Prologue. It's a prologue. I mean, I didn't go to Harvard, but
I knew that was coming. So anyway, they were here. It was fun. It was good. Lots of good stuff going, but super proud of Morgan for sure. She got her right lead a couple times. I wasn't even helping her at the moment, but the stuff we went back to and helped her fix up. And she was just like, I did it. We did it. We got it.
On our yellow horse.
Yeah. On her yellow horse. Yeah, it was fun because it was like,
Cricket.
no, it's not cricket. I might have said cricket at one point. Rabbit.
Rabbit.
I called her cricket him cricket the other day too, because I think there was a cricket in the clinic, at a clinic this weekend, that they stuck around, and Wendy helped with a horse one day. Anyway, so I called him cricket. No, it was rabbit. Nutmeg, rabbit, and fuego. And I'm trying to think. Mike has nicknames for him. Rabbit is rodent. Nutmeg is spice, and I can't remember what fuego is. Anyway, so she did great with rabbit. It was kind of tightening up when I ask you to go, I need you to kind of go now. I'm not going to bump on you a few times. If we're going to get this transition when you're set up for it, we got to respond now. So just halt, walk, halt, trot. When I need a little bit of a change, let's go for it. I'm not going to, more or less, I'm not going to wait on it. You need to get sharper. And the other thing I had her do is like get into a gallop. Like his canter, he canters, but he doesn't really ever stretch out, and just like, we're hauling ass now. And so I had her do that a little bit, and that obviously improved everything a little bit. Like, he was just more ready and alive on his toes, and she was just like, she just lit up. She's like, he's so much more ready. I can't remember exactly what she said, but that was cool. And then the other was, I'm trying to think, it was kind of second method of moving the hindquarters, but I think we maybe even did fifth. More second though, in motion. Like you can do it no problem standing still, but in motion there was just a lag on the hind end doing more. So it basically went from walk down to almost halt. And when my leg is there, you don't just ignore it. We are stepping over. And she worked really hard on that. Got some nice changes there. And then, I wasn't watching. And then the next morning they were out riding before I got out there. And both times she's like, we got it. We got it. So, and my favorite phrase then is like, all right, it's time for you to go home. Like, you got what you
or bring me another horse.
Yeah.
Well, you got that from me, where I'm like, go home, get out of here.
How's that what?
I think.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I've been saying it for a while, but yeah.
It's a compliment, you guys. Somebody's saying.
Well, it's fun when you have to say it right away. It's like, all right, here you go. It's like, how does that all come together right so quick? Well, get the pieces in line. So that was fun. Wendy's also looking really good. Her horses. It was also a little bit of, when you're loping, like, just gotta move, not just change the rhythm. And that was a piece of it for Nutmeg. But Nutmeg is standing up so much more. Soft feels coming together in the walk and the lope. She was reshaping herself for obvious reasons, the trot being more balanced, having more kind of impulsion there, reshaping herself quite nicely at the trot. But Wendy's question was, how do I get this walk to come together? We did a little bit of long walk, short walk.
I was wondering how that had turned out.
We actually didn't spend a ton of time on that, but Wendy was working on it. Katie and Morgan were more just kind of improving responsiveness to life up. And Katie more so than shortening the walk was lengthen the frame when you pick up a soft feel for the whole horse to line up and get longer, but over the back, not with the nose going out, and finding the feel for giving space, but not just letting it turn into the nose poking out. She did a good job with that. So she was working that walk trot more so than, okay, now we have a soft feel, let's slow down, because she would have kind of ended up with the llama again. And that's what we were trying to get away from. I told her to just ride like her girls when it was time to lope. Like, just, you have to want to lope. You have to be willing to go fast. If he's not sure you want to go, then convince him you want to go, even if that means kind of going faster than your insides are really feeling like you maybe want to go. Just flow with it, and then he'll believe you want to go. And that was the spot where it's like, okay, you can go home now, because that came together right away. But um, so that's the shoes work, and yeah, it was good stuff.
Cool. And have you been riding? I know you've been teaching a lot.
Yeah, I've been riding, training horses. I have not been getting to mine, unfortunately. I had one came in yesterday that I had last year. He's 4 now. I don't remember what we were talking about last he was here, but he's the Appaloosa that basically doesn't have a tail. We were kind of jabbing at him for that, but um, oh, that's the other thing. Morgan and Wendy are working this Appaloosa that
Together, you were saying.
together. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned last week, like, they can learn from one another. So that was kind of fun to watch. And then watch the transition over several days of how comfortable he felt moving out. Like, he's very awkward in his legs and his movement at first, and tense in transition. Kind of stretch out, find a flow, and get long. So watching for that. And then I was kind of having to wait on the same thing with this Harley that came back yesterday. And she hasn't done much with him. She said she's ponied him a lot on trail, but she hasn't ridden him. And it was the same thing. Like, the initial loping was kind of, the head went up, the back shortened, and about getting to where that flowed a little bit more. Then I put a ride on him, and that all felt pretty good. But it was the hooking on, and granted, there was like horses running around. Horses have been moved in pastures, but getting him to hook on and pay attention and stay with me and flow in the midst of all that took a bit of time. But yeah, once I got to ride and everything felt pretty good. Felt about like I left it. If I could remember where I left it, that would be helpful, but it felt good. So I don't remember quite where we were, so I'm just feeling it out all over again. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of teaching and a lot of other things, so I can't even remember what. So I was looking at my calendar, and it was the early part of September. I have not had, outside of vacation, which vacation with 2 kids, spoiler alert, does not feel like much of a vacation. It's like, let's take the chaos we have at home and now cram it into a smaller space and have to navigate being tired and not wanting to be on the trail, to getting on the trail and being super enthusiastic and loving it once you're out there, to now I'm hungry and it all falls apart again, even if you bring snacks. So, but anyway, since the beginning of September, there has been like no breaks. And so Monday they were still here. I was like, well, they're still here. And rather than take my Monday to recharge, I was out there with them, and which was fun. But then Tuesday, I just like crashed. Like, oh my gosh, I have nothing left in me. So
Yeah.
not then getting a lot of riding in, and that which I have has been short and sweet. Guys feeling more forward. It's kind of the same stuff I've been helping with Morgan and Eva with, is where he's at, just kind of make sure you're forward. Um, that way, when I ask for that canter transition, it's not let me rearrange myself and then canter for you. He was a wild one because I had him last year as well when he came back. I don't think I told you this, but she had ridden him some, but I think he had pushed back and willing to push him through it because the first ride was like, whoa, there was so much pushback and he was rearing like anything he could do to not go forward. Like, you're kidding me, man. So we got forward. And then the second and third ride were like, he was just very forward. Just like, all right, you're not going to put up with me pushing back on you. And so that was kind of more almost his initiative. Once is like, no, we're going. And he's like, oh, okay. But as it's gone on, kind of stretching that and building that on days where he's not coming out going, yeah, let's go and has been feeling around for extensions of that, and then floating that, and then just having like short rides within the ride, and him knowing that we're not just gonna go and go and go, because he's more interested in not putting in a ton of effort than putting in a ton of effort. So getting it to where it's really feeling flowy. We do a few things and then just kind of putting that in the bank and letting him soak on it and appreciate it. Do a couple sets like that and then put him up. And with that, the left lead canter, which was always more difficult because he wanted to dive in on the shoulder as soon as he asked for that transition. That's all shaping up pretty nice. So
Cool. Well, one thing that I was thinking
like the weirdest expression on your face.
I do?
Yeah. You're frozen.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's super flattering. uh,
RBF.
oh, is it? Okay, well that's something I've always struggled with, so it's fine. This is where you have to do I have to do it like this if I'm gonna do.
I can't see you. So.
Okay. So am I gone now? For real? You can hear me though?
I can hear you.
Yeah,
I wonder if
so
everybody else.
what was that?
I'm not sure if you're frozen for everybody else or not. But,
Oh, okay.
You're back now.
Okay. So Jarl, as he's kind of getting organized, he still the transition from standing still and relaxing, which you just made me think of like, okay, we're not having rides within the ride, or sets within the session, and the lurch, very Halloweeny, the lurch out of the freeze. It's not quite a freeze, it's more like being dead. I was like thinking, as it was pouring down rain the other day and dark, and he's just going from standing still, which he kind of knows that feeling now, rather than like being on the you gotta do something all the time. But then it's like to do something, it's this lurchy, like um, it's not very graceful or lovely in any way. And I'm like, I need to get it on video because he's kind of big and he's got these long legs, and it really does seem like a zombie when he's like standing still and then he's like it's it's not something you would want to ride. And I was thinking about that a lot with both Jarl and actually River, taking River up to our arena. Um, because it's always a transition for the horses this time of year that haven't been up in the coverall, because we did build it on the hill a little bit away from the barn, and so they have to acclimatize to being a little bit away, and get confident up there, and especially in the weather and the wind and the rain and all that. And she's just that horse was a find. seriously. Like every day I come in, I'm like, she's awesome, you know? But a couple things about her. First of all, I did get on her the first day up there, but you really are calculating to some degree that you're just getting along on the horse's good graces because she's not really educated enough to truly survive if some shit went down. You just have to count on petting her. Well, the same thing with Jarl because he is very clumsy and I honestly have seen him just crumble to the ground. Like I would not want my legs in the way. um and the as far as my opinion is that he's just not used to operating his whole body all at once, uh, or in pieces in an accurate way, right? So when you get on him at times, it's like the one rein stop. Now, I did about, seriously, I must have done 100 Gary's corners with him the last time I was with him. And that was the secret sauce for sure. Because for him to turn loose laterally and then make a corner where he's a really, like we did him over and over and over again. And every time it was like him just taking a breath, you know, because he was just like, oh. Okay, well then obviously once I condition that to happen off the rein and turn it into a proper one rein stop, then we can stop in balance, right? But there's a couple times, you know, when you're kind of just operating on the horse's good graces, I would definitely not bet my life on any of the technique or accuracy that we have going on. I'm betting my life on my relationship with my horse. Like that, that's the reality. Other funny thing about River, you guys know that she just, there's so many things that are super easy for her, and you show her something one time and the next time she has it down. But one of the things that she really was, she's like, huh, was backing off the slobber shop. And you riding her, you can kind of tell that two reins at a time, she wasn't ever shown really a soft feel. So she'll just kind of tough it out and grind her teeth, you know, little tiny teeth ground, like kind of like this, you know, and not in a mean way, just like in a, I don't really like this. I mean, I'll do it, but I don't really like it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and and so backing off the slobber strap, it was just hilarious because we really like each other, and you know, so much of it has worked out. But this was really the first thing that she was just like, eh. The pennies started to drop, you know. But I've kind of had to show it to her a couple times because, especially, you know, making a bend away from, like, I'm on the out, and she's just like so cute. I'm not in a patronizing way, just in a way that I'm so appreciating her for being concerned and not quitting, but just being like, are you sure you know what you're doing? This is very strange. So it's going to be fun when she figures that out, because of course that will open the doors to so many other things. So cute little booger. She has so much hair. It's crazy. And I haven't put a sheet on her yet because it's been warm. So it's been pouring down rain and warm. Not warm anymore, but it was to the point where the flies were still out and it was raining. So I didn't want to put a sheet on her because her hair's like this long. And um but she was dry one day, and I turned around. I'm like, and because it was not raining at the moment, so I'm like, hey, if you could do me the solid of like not rolling out there, that would be awesome. So I go about my business, and about 5 minutes later, she comes up to the gate, and she literally looks like a sock that someone submerged in a mud puddle and is holding up like this. And I'm like, that's not what we talked about. Like head to toe, inner ears, like, you guys, the hair is this long, and it literally looked like she was dunked in a mud puddle. And she's small, so it's kind of funny. I'm like, this is why you smelled like a dirty sock when you came to me in spring, because you pretty much are. She was kind of rain rowdy too, which is just because she was out in a beautiful pasture. It wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but that's a lot of hair to kind of just get off. So she's gonna have to get her little fly sheet on. I mean, rain sheet, so that I can actually ride her. Anyway, that is our Halloween talk, you guys. Were we spooky enough? I mean, I don't know. Probably not.
We could have worn orange slickers.
We
Maybe
could
next year.
next year. Yeah, well, it'll probably be forever until well, we could just do the Halloween week. I was like, I don't have a costume other than I could have worn a cowboy hat. That would have been kind of funny. You could have worn a helmet. See? I don't think of these things ahead of time. Oh well. Okay, well, what have you got going on? You have the people today?
Have no people today. Have horses to ride.
Cool. Well, that's exciting. Well, maybe we'll chat a little bit later. Thank you, everybody, for your thoughts and comments on the English or Western thing. And I just want to remind you guys, sometimes I don't see all the comments. I don't know why it doesn't show them to me, but I'm not picking and choosing. Every single comment I see, I try to respond to. So if I'm not responding to your comment, it's because for whatever reason, I don't see it until later. Just want to be clear of that. So Michael and I will be back next Thursday morning. Yes?
Yes.
At 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
8:30 Central.
All right. So have a good week, everybody. Don't forget to buy some sats this week.
You can't say anything after the
Okay.
sun.
All right. One more time. All right, you guys. So Michael and I will be here as usual every Thursday morning. So we'll see you next Thursday morning at 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
8:30 Central.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.